turned up at just the right time. And it doesn't matter what you bring a gift, a skill that is available to be used in the cause of right.
We actually, some of you may know of the Armadale case. Nearly 2 years ago, a juvenile facility, correctional facility for girls, there was a horrible fire that took place there, and 5 girls died the night of the fire, and 2 others died as a result of their injuries. And there was a commission of inquiry, and the conditions, details about the conditions that came out were horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And suddenly, it looked as though we would have an opportunity to present a report at the Inter-American Commission. But there was no one to do it, except that this young Jamaican lawyer, in between jobs, again, had turned up and said, you know, I have a few months off, can I volunteer? And here we were, able to have this young woman work, write the report, do the research, and actually go with us to Washington, D.C. to make this presentation. And without that help, we would not have been able to put that report together in the short period of time that was available to us. And it's this when you see the opportunity come up and people being willing to step in, to take on, you know, the work, to show that commitment, and to see the impact of it, it is really wonderful. It really is wonderful.
And so for me, Sue, I mean, looking to the future, that really is my hope for Jamaica. My hope for Jamaica is that the young people who come with such different expectations, with such different understandings of the world, of themselves, of their own place in it, can take us out of that victimhood that we've been wallowing in for far too long. We can do something. Not me one can do nothing. Me one can do something, right? And it's the young people who come without that expectation of failure who really have to get engaged, as you are doing with JaMinn Link, as you're doing by being here. Get engaged in moving us forward to the promised land. And the promised land is a place where our people have opportunity to fulfill their promise. That's where we need to go, where we're all equal, where rights are all respected, and we can step forward across that road and move forward as one people to a future of hope and justice.
And I think, for me again, when we have talks like this and share with you some of the horrific problems that we face, sometimes you can feel, I know I certainly can feel overwhelmed. The problems seem so large. And I always tell this story, any opportunity I have. A young Canadian volunteer who worked with us in the early days of the organization, and we were sitting, he and I, one afternoon, looking at the problems across the world, wars and all sorts of problems. And locally, we were facing huge problems. And he said to me, Susan, the thing is, though, we are not called upon to fix the whole world. We are only called upon to take the next right step. And that, for me, has become my mantra, the next right step. It may be sitting with a mother in a courtroom. It may be going with a family to the morgue while a postmortem is done. It may be opening my mouth on a radio program. It may be attending a presentation like this to share information. All we are called on to do is just to take the next right step.
And thus begins a journey of 1,000 miles. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we go to the question and answer section. As Alexis informed you, you were given cards in the audience, and then they were passed to me, and they've been selected. But there are also some pre-submitted questions. The first question is pre-submitted, and it says, how do you handle political pressure to silence your views on human rights? And also, do you worry about your own family's safety?
Second one first. Sometimes, but not all the time. And the more the work has grown, is the less it makes sense to bump off any one of us, because the work will continue. Political pressure, we used to laugh about it in the early days because we were labeled, so labeled. We were initially NDM. Anybody remember the NDM? And then we were JLP stooges. And we used to say in board, how are we going to change that perception? Because in Jamaica, everything is either JLP or PNP, green shirt, orange shirt. And we came to the conclusion that the only way we would change that perception would to remain true to ourselves. And when the government eventually changed, we would continue to criticize the government, and then we'd become PNP stooges, and then it would be okay. And that's exactly what has happened.
In terms of safety, Carolyn has had over the years a number of death threats. I've only had one last year. Other members of our organization have had death threats, and we have a protocol which we follow, making report to the police even if we believe the threats are coming from the police force, going public, and taking the necessary precautions, being sensible about, if we need to beef up personal security for a while, or if one of us needs to sort of step off the stage for a bit and become a bit quiet while the others pick up the public voice, and then we go on. But yeah, it just continues. We pretty much make sure that that people know we're not going to answer the call to silence. Yep.
Next question comes from the audience, and it says, how can the international community help?
Yeah, in a number of ways. One is like this, to become informed, to stay informed, and to where the opportunity arises, ask the questions and share concerns with our political leadership, with other organizations that do work in Jamaica. There are opportunities sometimes through international groups like Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, to, again, voice concerns. I think that one of the things that is most important is for Jamaican society to know that others are watching, are interested in what's going on, and that the cloak of darkness does not sort of block out the problems and the scrutiny that is necessary.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind always is that the only thing that is necessary for evil to flourish is for good people to keep silent. Raise your voice. You know it's happening? Challenge, speak truth to power. When they come on their jaunts, those who have responsibility to change the situation and come on a jaunt and expose themselves to the Jamaican community and look to get pats on the back, ask the questions. Yeah, great. What's happening about this? What's happening about the Tivoli case? Force people to stand up and be accountable for what they put themselves up to be. And you put yourself up to be a leader in a country, not so you can attend international conferences and drink champagne, so that you can make the situation different for your people. Hold them accountable.
Sometimes write a letter to our local newspapers on an issue. Those voices are always good. Go on the Jamaican newspapers' websites, Jamaica Observer, the Gleaner, and put in a comment on a story, a case, so that the voices, the moderate voices, are heard. I think that is very important.
This one was pre-submitted. Why do so few men seem to be involved in your organization, even though the majority of abuses happen to men?